Hey, sports fans, and welcome back to another episode of EBC Sports International. I'm your host, Sarita Sese from Toronto, Canada. And of course, I couldn't do the show alone, so I'm here with some of my fellow sports fans, starting off with EJ Gonzalez from Alexandria, Virginia.
What's up, everyone? What's up, Zarita? How you doing? And I just want to shout out Kawhi Leonard for looking very spicy in that music video with Drake.
I don't know how this guy finds himself in these situations, but of course it would be with Drake. And also we have Mr. Mike Hudson from Seattle, Washington.
What is up, everybody? What's going on, Z? 6 more days till NFL kickoff, a.k.a. when Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. starts his quest for this 8th ring. Let's get it going, baby.
And of course, from the other side of the pond, we have Mr. Ben Bernaldez from Rosa Laguna, Philippines.
What's up, guys, and to our viewers, and happy to be back. And I'd like to greet my wife. A happy birthday, Mommy Ami. Happy birthday to you. We love you.
Happy birthday! That was awesome.
Birthday.
I expect that from Albert next time he's on. Anyway, so before we jump in, let's start off with some sports updates from this week. Starting off with Mike with some big NFL news.
Thank you, Z. So it looks like Cam Newton, his tenure in New England is no more, as he was cut by the Patriots this past week, leading up to the Week 1 matchup against the Miami Dolphins. Newton was New England's starting quarterback last season, and he's famously known for being the Carolina Panthers quarterback for a majority of the season, winning the NFL MVP in 2015. But last season with New England, he wasn't really playing his best, and it made a lot of people question if his job was safe. And obviously it wasn't, as rookie Mac Jones was just revealed as a starter, and now Newton is a free agent once again. There were some rumors that he was mainly cut because he refused to get vaccinated and broken many COVID protocols a couple of times. But head coach Bill Belichick, who held a press conference on the matter just a couple of days ago, said that that wasn't the case. And he was simply making a move that was in the best interest of the organization. When interviewed, Cam did say that he did not have any sour feelings when it came to the team's move. And though the Dallas Cowboys, New Orleans Saints, and even the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been in talks of getting Cam to be a backup, no official word has been said yet about his next destination. And we'll be sure to keep you posted on what happens with Mr. Newton next. Back to you, Z.
Thanks, Mike. Now we have some updates from the ongoing free agency for the NBA from EJ.
Thanks, Rita. So after a couple of weeks of silence with NBA free agency, a 3-team deal happened last week between the Chicago Bulls, Cleveland Cavaliers, and Portland Trailblazers. Earlier this month, one of Chicago's young stars, Lauri Markkanen, made it known that he wanted a fresh start somewhere else. Now, Markkanen averaged 13 points and 5 rebounds last year, and his request for a new home has landed him in Cleveland through a sign-in trade. So here's what each team received through this deal. Cleveland Cavaliers obviously received Lauri Markkanen, where the young power forward is set to make $67 million over 4 years. The Portland Trailblazers received Larry Nance Jr. and a 2023 second-round pick, and the Chicago Bulls received the former dunk champion Derrick Jones Jr., along with one protected first-round pick for 2022. Now, this week, the Brooklyn Nets were able to agree on a deal with Paul Millsap. Millsap is a 4-time All-Star, but on the down end of his career, where he failed to average double figures in scoring last season for the first time since 2008. Now, another intriguing story comes from LaMarcus Aldridge, who was officially cleared by multiple doctors to return for his 16th year in the NBA. The 7-time All-Star is returning to the Brooklyn Nets on a $2.6 million one-year deal. Now, the Nets have been super busy, but it doesn't stop there. The Nets traded DeAndre Jordan, along with multiple draft picks and cash, to the Detroit Pistons for Jahlil Okafor. Now, Nets clear $47 million in salary and tax on the deal, and DeAndre Jordan is expected to be bought out of his contract by Detroit and is likely to sign with the Lakers upon clearing waivers. Back to you, Zarita.
There seems to be a trend in free agency. It's like Lakers, Nets, and that's about it. So
Right.
Anyways, now we have a story about one of LA's teams hosting a Filipino Heritage Night.
Happy Filipino Night! Mabuhay!
Let's go, Dodgers!
Happy Filipino Night! Proud Filipino!
Mabuhay!
Happy Filipino
decades-long tradition, Filipino Heritage Nights at Dodger Stadium makes its return after a year off due to the pandemic. Because it was Filipino Heritage Night, both the U.S. and Philippine national anthems were performed.
It's honestly amazing to be singing for a live audience, especially because of the pandemic. Like, we're all getting back to what is normal, and I'm just soaking in all of these moments because I don't know when the next time is going to be that I'm going to be able to sing live, but it's just an immense amount of gratitude today. I think I'm just really excited to be representing my culture and my heritage, and to have it be at the Dodger Stadium, which is just epic and it's mainstream, and to feel seen is just a win today.
For no jokes for the pandemic. The pandemic itself has taught us how to not joke. I used to be a positive person, but now I can't even say that because you're supposed to be negative. It's so confusing, but you know, I know all the people watching. It's such a great joy to, whether you're watching on TV or you're watching here at the stadium, to kind of forget that for a while. That's what sports are for, to get it off your mind, to know that there'll be a better tomorrow. We'll all hit a home run one day, and the pandemic right now seems to be in our way. So until the pandemic steps away from the plate, we got to keep swinging. All I can say is I am a proud Filipino American, and it's a great day to be both a Filipino and an American and a Dodgers fan.
With an impressive throwing arm, it was comedian Joe Coy who was back on the mound for the ceremonial first pitch.
97 miles per hour is what they clocked me at, so you're gonna love it. They're putting me in the game probably to close it out, so we'll see. Oh man, that's the best part of this whole thing, man, is just laughing. I'm glad that we're back out on tour and just seeing people come out and laugh, and it's been a while, so it was very emotional when I got back on tour, so I'm excited. Beautiful, the energy's hot. I mean, we got so many beautiful people here. Martin Rivera's here, so I can't wait, man. I love it. I love the fact that we're celebrating this moment with, of course, you know, my people, celebrating the culture and our people. It's great. It's a great night, and I'm excited. I'm getting all butterflied right now.
We're happy to be here tonight to celebrate Filipino heritage. We're just happy to gather again and have a little bit of normalcy.
So walking in, I wasn't expecting to see as many people represent our culture, but to my surprise, there's so many Filipinos here. I was so surprised and shocked to see that many being able to represent our culture.
I've never seen so many Filipinos early to an event. And yeah, I probably got here about 45 minutes and there were so many people here already. So, an awkward thing to Filipino time. Pretty encouraging, I guess. It's crazy being back at Dodger Stadium because, like I said, it was so filled over here and a lot of people. It was good to see everyone vibing with each other, it being like a normal event, not anything, not so much social distancing be on everyone's mind. It was people having fun at a game. It was amazing to see.
We're finally here. I mean, yeah, we're having fun right now.
It's finally be out.
It's really nice. We're here to represent.
Yep.
Represent
our team. 2020 champions.
We're all excited. There's a lot of Filipino. Everybody's enjoying the game, and so are we. Well, we'd like to say mabuhay to all the Filipino people here in America. Enjoy, stay safe, be well.
For Dodgers fans, the anticipation of facing off against the NL East top team culminated in a 3-game sweep of the series, as LA completely routed Atlanta and are now headed to San Francisco to battle for the NL West top spot against the Giants. No doubt true blue fans, like the ones at Filipino Heritage Night, will be rooting for their home LA team, especially since playoffs are only a month away. Los Angeles is one of the most diverse cities in the country. Contributing to this diversity are Filipino communities embedded throughout the Southland, which continually help shape LA's unique way of life. In Los Angeles, California, Eva Basayahe, EBC Sports International, we live in interesting times.
Thanks, Eva. And we're going to take a quick break. And right after, we're actually going to start off with some Manny Pacquiao updates. We'll be right back.
Hindi ba masasabi nila na parang paborito yata ni Direk Yam si Ren? Mukhang parang una-una sa isip mo kapag nandun yata talagang lalo na babagay na role kay Ren, parang siya talaga kaagad yung nasa
Kasi
class. Ano pa yun?
Pag nakatrabaho mo kasi yung isang actor, like especially si Ren, magaling si Ren na actress. Or I always call her, one of the best.
Yun din po yung na-enjoy ko po talaga kapag gumagawa po ako na si Direk Yam po yung makakasama ko. Kasi binibigyan niya po talaga sa mga actors niya yung freedom. Kung ano yung gusto namin gawin kung ano yung gusto namin atake, kung paano namin gagawin yung mga eksena.
Ang sarap nga naman nun, Direk, na magsushoot ka na, alam mo, payapa yung loob mo.
Totoo, opo.
Lalang magkasakit ka doon, makakuha ka ng sakit doon. So, kalaksin kayo ng ilang days ba, Direk, o weeks? O pakwi-uwi?
No.
Paano bang naging ano yun, Direk?
Si Ren ang papakwento mo.
Matagal.
Ang tagal-tagal namin doon.
Lahat ng yan, dito pa sa programang My Pagmahal will give you another inspiring, memorable, bonding moments.
Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for sticking with us. So we're going to start off with the boxing ring. Our EBC team was in Las Vegas and got to hear firsthand the comments of Pacquiao and his team after his fight against Ugas. So here's Valerie Gonzalez with the story.
We're here to wrap up at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, where Manny Pacquiao was unanimously defeated by Yordenis Ugas to remain the welterweight boxing champion. Manny Pacquiao fought aggressively early on in the fight, landing 130 punches out of 815. Ugas, who took the fight with 11 days' notice, had the greatest performance of his career against Pacquiao and was very patient in the ring, landing 151 of 405. Coach Freddie Roach discussed the advantages and disadvantages between the fighters, while Pacquiao discussed the effects of aging on his body despite giving his best effort.
Me and Manny were trying to get it together in the corner, what to work on and so forth, but he was boxing well, but not as well as Ugas was. He fought a good fight, and his range was really a big factor in the fight, and we just couldn't reach him.
Early days, I can easily move and outbox him, Manny Pacquiao. But this time around, it's like my two legs is tight and hurting. But I'm not making excuses. That's the reason why I cannot move. That's boxing. I mean, I've done a lot in boxing, and I'm happy that we're safe.
Ultimately, Ugas won the fight by unanimous decision and remains as the welterweight boxing champion. As for Pacquiao's future, he has stated that it's undecided if he'll retire or not, but that he will be spending more time focusing on his humanitarian efforts. In Las Vegas, Nevada, Valerie Gonzalez, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thanks, Valerie. So we're going to jump right in and let's see what our panel thought about the fight. So Ben, let's start off with you. What were your general thoughts on the fight and how Manny looked?
Well, for a short Filipino guy who started fighting as a skinny 112-pounder, Manny Pacquiao has certainly accomplished a lot. Now, he has won 12 major titles in 8 different weight classes, went toe-to-toe against the likes of Ricky Hatton, Oscar De La Hoya, Eric Morales, and many more. And he became a lineal champion in 5 different weight divisions. And Pacquiao became one of the boxing top attractions, earning millions of dollars in the process. And he's a true example of a rags to riches story. Well, certainly a decision loss to Yordenis Ugas won't erase any of his accomplishments. Now, but for me personally, he has nothing to prove anymore. He has accomplished so much in boxing, and he will be remembered as a great boxer. But watching the fight, Pacquiao's performance was inefficient during the first, even in the starting rounds. He struggled to break through Ugas' guard and landed just 16% of his punches. And according to the reports, he was hampered by a painful leg cramps. But if we saw the fight early rounds, we cannot see his side-to-side movement, making him vulnerable to Ugas' left jab, right straight combination. And he could not also generate enough punching power due to his stiffness in the legs. Now, a younger Pacquiao would have adjusted well even with leg cramps during his time. Pacquiao was visibly frustrated and was apologetic after the loss. But Pacquiao has nothing to be sorry for. For me, I think it's time for him to rest. There's life after boxing, and fans should not should be grateful because we witnessed Pacquiao's greatness, and I don't think a rematch will benefit Pacquiao, and I think there's nothing to be ashamed of if this is his last fight. All the great boxing legends like Muhammad Ali, Oscar de la Hoya, all lost in their last fight. I think he should have retired 2 years ago, after his win with Thurman. I think he's the greatest Filipino boxer ever, and he has nothing to prove. And we are all proud of him for making Filipinos proud in the sport of boxing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't doubt anything that he's done. But Mike, keeping in mind that Manny is 42 years old, like Ben laid out all his accomplishments, do you agree that maybe it's time to hang up the gloves and retire? Is he 2 years too late? What do you think?
Manny. No, he needs to keep fighting, man. The big reason for me, right, is okay. Think about it. So he spent all this time preparing for oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Who was he supposed to fight first? Who was the
Earl Spence Jr.
Yeah, Spencer. Sorry, thanks, EJ. So he was supposed to fight him. He's preparing all these months leading up to it, and then all of a sudden, someone throws a wrench into the wheel, and he has to prepare for someone in such a short notice. And think about it. I mean, he's 42 years old, or he's in his 40s. He's not like this. He's not a spring chicken anymore where he's just like, okay, I'll just fight anybody. Like, let's go. I mean, there's a lot more preparation that goes into his fighting. And so he was kind of thrown off guard. And obviously you could see that in the fight. It was just, he just was not prepared. So I still think he has something left in the tank. I kind of see him like as kind of like a Tom Brady a little bit, where he's kind of aging backwards in a way, because he takes really good care of his body. I mean, you could just tell he's still extremely passionate about the sport of boxing. And he does it for all the right reasons. I mean, he fights, he does these boxing matches because he gives so much to charity, and he just has a heart of gold. So I personally would not want to see him retire. I would love to see him fight Spencer. I want to see that fight go down, or even a rematch with Ugas, so he has the appropriate time to prepare for it. But I mean, we can't take any credit away from Ugas. So I mean, the guy totally stepped up, and he dominated the fight. So yeah, answer your question. Would love to see him at least fight 1 to 2 more fights, and then call it good.
Yeah, I think we're all a little selfish, and we want to keep seeing him fight despite all the injuries that are happening. But just after a week after that fight, another match occurred where YouTube star Jake Paul yet again took on former UFC champion Tyron Woodley. So EJ, with the mix of types of matchups, I'm going to use that fairly lightly, we've seen lately in the world of boxing, where do you see boxing going?
Man, it's crazy. Well, first, it's crazy that Jake Paul's professional record.
Yes.
Google it. Professional record is 4-0. What? I mean, okay, 3 recorded as knockouts and 1 by a judge's decision, which was the last one. But let's go down the list that the guy has defeated, right? The first one was against a fellow YouTuber who's never fought before. how is that a professional fight or considered a professional fight towards his professional career? You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make sense to me. And second was against Nate Robinson. Again, now this guy, a professional athlete, but he's not a fighter. Okay, but Third was against Ben Askren, now a professional fighter, but not known as a striker. And then finally it was Tyron Woodley, the most recent one, a professional fighter, but known to be a striker. So the guy has upped his competition with each fight, right? But still hasn't fought a real boxer. And that's where I think the sport of boxing is going. You know, it's a platform of entertainment that isn't showcasing true technique that we've been spoiled by Manny Pacquiao, right? So now I think Jake has been fighting well, and I don't understand why they're counting these as professional for his professional boxing career. I think he's taking the sport seriously, but the fights that he's partaking in are really more for clout or popularity, you know, to continue to grow his platform. I mean, I got to give him kudos. He's able to land some big name fights and is making millions through the sport of boxing. But I mean, some fighters who have been training for years, they haven't been able to have a primetime slot or opportunity like this guy. And the guy has just taken advantage of social media and, you know, and his popularity to get these fights. So I never really watched boxing, honestly, unless it was a Pacquiao fight. But I think it's safe to say for me personally that the way that boxing is going and, you know, the enjoyment of watching it isn't going to be the same, especially if that was the last fight we'll ever see from Pacquiao. But yeah, I mean, for me personally, don't count these as professional wins. I mean, it's not. I mean, I guess you could count the last two because they were considered professional fighters, but they're not boxers. So I don't know why they're counting towards his professional career.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows where the sport is going, but I think it's even more obvious that we need fighters like Manny Pacquiao to stay around to make the sport legitimate. So moving on to some off-season NBA news, it was reported this week that New York Knicks guard Nerlens Noel is suing his former agent Rich Paul of Clutch Sports. So just as a reminder, he turned down a $70 million contract from the Dallas Mavericks during the 2017 offseason. So in the report, it was basically saying that Noel felt abandoned by Paul after he was convinced to change representation, saying that Paul was more focused on his big stars like the LeBrons, the Davis, and the Simmons. So I don't want to get too much into this, but I do want to get into this topic because we don't see it very often. So Ben, do you think Nerlens Noel or just players in general are within their rights to go after their agents, in this case, Paul?
Well, this is a first time that I heard a player suing his agent, his former agent now rather, for negligence. I think for allegedly Rich Paul failed to do his duty as an agent to provide more opportunities for Noel. But at the end of the day, I think Noel has the ability or the final say on the decision that he will make, throwing that offer from Dallas Mavericks and losing a lot of millions of dollars in his deal. But as I've read I did some research that during that time, Rich Paul was not yet his agent, if I'm correct. He's still with his former agent. Now, how can you blame Rich Paul for that decision, for you not taking that deal with the Dallas Mavericks? I think it's absurd to sue your former agent who was not yet your agent during that time. I think that's really I don't know what's there's a bigger story on this. I think Rich Paul filed a grievance complaint against Noel for failure to pay because Noel hasn't paid Rich Paul his commission from his previous deals. Yeah. I think that's probably the reason why Noel is filing a suit against Rich Paul. But for me, I think this is really mind-boggling for me to even fathom if this is really gonna happen, if this will push through, and we'll see in the next coming days.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also like you're really going to go after Rich Paul of Clutch Sports, like the Rich Paul. But
Right.
Yes.
Mike, when you see players, have their bet on yourself moment and you see it fall apart in front of everybody, who do you blame at that point? I think Ben was alluding to that, but who would you put the blame on?
Oh, you got to put the blame on the player because at the end of the day, they're the ones stepping on the court and they're playing. And I think if New Orleans, or Noel, if he had the right people around him basically saying, hey, dude, let's be real. You're not a top 5 center in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
If he had people around him that said that, then this wouldn't be an issue. I think it's a lot of the successful players, they know their roles, they know their role in the market, and they know how much they're worth, and they know their value. So, totally the player's fault.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I just wish Dennis Schroeder listened or at least followed suit with Noel's case. Yeah. But we'll see how this season goes. Like I said, I just wanted to get your general thoughts on this, given that we don't see it very often. But great takes, everyone. We're going to take a quick break and we'll continue with some more NBA talk. We'll be right back.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced, eagle news. Because we live in interesting times.
Welcome back, everyone. Getting right back into our NBA talk. Like EJ reported earlier, the moves that the Bulls, the Cavs, now the Nets, and even the Blazers made throughout last week and this week. So we're going to unpack this a little bit. Mike, I'm going to go to you. When the news broke about what the Bulls were doing, you mentioned offline that you were surprised by this. So what was surprising to you?
Oh, did I? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
I was like, I think so.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I think for me, I watched them through high school and then through college. I guess I kind of had some type of like emotional attachment to him because I was really excited to see this Bulls team. I think the pickups that they did in the offseason, they're going to be pretty exciting to watch. And I thought he was part of those plans. At the end of the day, I don't blame him for wanting to leave, but I feel like he went to an even worse team to get his quote unquote fresh start. But this dude has potential, like what EJ said earlier. 14 points a game, 6 boards last year with the Bulls starting. He played in 50 something games. The guy has a really nice touch around the basket. He's 7 feet tall, so he has size, and he can play. He's definitely a raw talent. So for me, I just was really excited to see him with an up and coming Bull squad, as opposed to, I feel like now he's going to be starting back over with the Cavs, especially with them getting rid of some of their important parts.
Yeah, and to be honest, I have no idea where the Cavs are headed. So, if he really wants a fresh start, he's going to completely start his career over there. So, anyways, EJ, this move from the Blazers, they get Larry Nance Jr. So, if you're Damian Lillard, what do you think about this move and progressing your team? Like, are you confident in what your team can do with Larry Nance Jr.?
Are you kidding me? They're going to win the championship. No, man. If I were Damian Lillard and I say this is the move that you guys make for me to try and stay, there's been reports all summer long while Damian Lillard was over there playing in Tokyo with the Olympic team. This is a big thing that players do, right? In Tokyo or during the Olympics, they're really recruiting each other to come play for each other. And you're playing with some of the best players in the NBA, and Larry Nash Jr. obviously is not one of those guys. Honestly, out of the 3 forwards that were moved, Lauri Markkanen, Larry Nash Jr., and Derek Jones Jr., I think that Larry Nash Jr. is the worst out of the 3 of them. So if I were, Damian Lillard, and and my frustrations if my frustrations were made public, because he continues to still deny it. But I mean, we all know and feel that this guy does not want to be in Portland if they are not going to be serious in trying to, complete a team for him to compete with these guys like the Nets and the Lakers, who are making moves every single week. I don't know. This is just baffling to me why the Blazers were even part of this deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, other than his dad was like a Cavs legend, I don't know what else they're gonna do with him. But it's almost a little bit offensive. If I'm Damian Lillard, I'm like, this is the guy you're gonna get me. But who knows? Maybe they have something up their sleeve, right? So, Ben, what were your initial thoughts when you heard about Aldridge coming out of retirement and then just going back to the Nets? Like, is that a surprise to you?
I think I'm happy for Aldridge for him to play again. I think as a basketball, if you're a player, there's the urge of always finishing your career the way you wanted to finish your career. I think with Aldridge playing again, we all are happy for his comeback, and it's going to be a good for the Nets. There's going to be a deep rotation with their front court, including Blake Griffin, Paul Millsap, and he just have to be really mindful of his body, and if he wants to play for another year with the Nets, he has to really take care of his health and probably not be sorry at the end of his decision. Now, I think this is going to be a great news for the Nets because he averaged 19.4 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 2 assists per game in his career. So this is going to be a big help for the Nets with a big man as Aldridge in their team.
Yeah, what you said about finishing his career the way he wants to, I think you're absolutely right. I wish Chris Bosh got that chance. But really quickly, kind of the take from everybody, who won this mini little rotation of players from free agency. Mike, let's start with you. Of the three, let's focus on the Cavs. Dame's team, I'm drawing a blank. And yes, of those three teams, who wins this one for you?
Well, I mean, you have to say the Bulls, because I mean, I feel like they just got more athletic, adding Derek Jones Jr. there. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's for sure. EJ, what about you?
Yeah, 100%. And they're already a stacked team. You can't go Bulls. But I mean, the biggest winner has to be Lauri Markkanen, who bet on himself, who wanted to get paid. And to get that amount of money for 4 years, I think, he won that deal because he bet on himself.
Yeah, and he got out like he asked. I mean, the team is questionable. But anyways, Ben, what about you? Who do you think won?
Well, for me, not really one, but the Blazers. I wanted to emphasize on Nance Jr. I think he is a better addition in their bench. Nance Jr. is a reliable defender and also an offensive player. He is very active, and it's going to be a big help for Damian Lillard for Nance Jr. And he's also a young player that could really definitely contribute with their team, but not really the winners among the teams who with the free agency. I think I just want to also credit Blazers for making some changes in their roster.
Yeah, I think just change in general might be good for them. Maybe that's the push they need. But like always, it's just a matter of time of seeing how this will all pan out and how the season goes. So, but now we're going to move on to some NFL talk. So like Mike said earlier in the show, we're just a week away, or 6 days, Mike, from the start of the NFL season. And some teams have announced who their starting quarterbacks will be. So starting off, New Orleans Saints, who announced Jameis Winston will be starting for them in QB for week one. Next, we have Jacksonville Jaguars, who announced that, of course, first overall pick Trevor Lawrence will be their starting QB. You have the Chicago Bears going with their vet, Andy Dalton, over the rookie Justin Fields. And like Mike reported earlier, the Patriots going all in with their rookie Mac Jones. So I want to start with you, Mike. What were your thoughts when you heard of the release of Cam Newton? And was this a fair way of treating him?
Yeah, I was a little surprised when I first heard about it, just because he played in that last preseason game and he started and he played with the starters and Mac Jones didn't. But looking at it from the outside in, at the end of the day, Mac Jones just fits the system a lot better. I feel like he's a lot more controllable, I guess you can say, for Bill Belichick. Like with Cam, it's like you don't know. I mean, he's kind of he's a little unpredictable. Kind of says what he wants. He's not? I think he is coachable, but as far as like the Patriot way image, he just does not fit that mold. So at the end of the day, I was not surprised that they let go of him. I think he's going to get picked up quick. Especially God forbid there's any injuries to any quarterbacks out there. But Cam still has a lot of juice left in the tank. But I think at the end of the day, Bill Belichick made this move because Week 4, Tampa Bay against New England. Brady's coming back to New England, and he wants to show Tom that he has the new Brady in New England. So.
That I'm perfectly fine without you.
Exactly.
So moving on then to the Saints, Ben, what do you think Winston brings to the Saints now as a starter, and does he have big shoes to fill with a player like Drew Brees?
Definitely, he has big shoes to fill in. And I think James Winston has shown this preseason that he should be the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Winston outperformed Hill in the preseason and definitely will be the successor for Drew Brees. And,
they just made the announcement that Winston is he's a starter. Yeah,
definitely. And he has plenty of experience as a starting quarterback. With mixed results. He started 5 seasons for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, completed 61.3% of his passes and throwing for 19,737 yards with 121 touchdowns and 88 interceptions. So with all of these stats and this preseason, he has definitely outperformed Hill and to get that starting quarterback spot. Now, over this preseason, and I think also Peyton is giving Winston the opportunity to lead the Saints back to the playoffs, and that's their number one goal. And this will be an opportunity for Winston to really deliver, and if he wants to remain as a starting quarterback in the league.
Yeah, no, for sure. And there's no doubt that Winston definitely deserved this with all the previous starts that he did have. So, EJ, moving on to the announcement of Trevor Lawrence, do you think, first of all, were you surprised with the fact, first overall pick, he's going to be the starter, but also will he live up to being the first overall pick?
Was I surprised? I definitely not. The guy was a number 1 overall pick for a reason, right? So I rarely watch the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who does? Unless you're a Jaguars fan or you live over there in Florida, right? Unless they're playing Washington, that's the only time we pay attention to them, right? But I don't think they played us at all last year. So I definitely didn't see them or watch a single second of their games last year, the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I had to search and see who the other possible QB was, right, for the Jags. And there's literally one other guy on the depth chart, and that's CJ Beathard. Mike, who's this guy, man? I've never even heard of this guy, bro.
Yeah.
No, Trevor Lawrence, obviously. There's a reason why the Jacksonville Jaguars picked him, and he looked great in week 3 of the preseason, man. 11 for 12 in completions, 139 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns, and he had a 154.5 rating at QB, and that was against the Dallas Cowboys, and, Washington hates the Dallas Cowboys, so thank you, Trevor Lawrence. But the guy looked like he was able to pick apart the defense of the Dallas Cowboys. And a lot of NFL analysts are predicting that this is going to be a spectacular year for the number 1 overall pick. And this draft was loaded with great potential quarterbacks. We talked about Mac Jones with the Patriots, Trey Lance and Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. And out of the 4, they're saying, of course, that Trevor Lawrence is going to have the biggest season for the rookie quarterback drafted this offseason. So I'm excited to see what Trevor Lawrence does, and live up to the hype of his number 1 overall pick.
For sure. I think a lot of eyes will be on Trevor Lawrence to see if he actually lives up to that. And lastly, the Bears. So, Mike, I'm going to come back to you. Do you agree with what the Bears did, sticking with their vet of Dalton? And what does sitting their rookie do for Fields' career in the long run?
Yeah, I think they made the right decision for now, just to give Justin Fields, get his feet wet a little bit, because, week 1, they play the Rams. They're like a top 3 defense. So, do you really want to throw Fields first game of his NFL career against that defense? I don't think so. At the end of the day, Andy Dalton, he's a serviceable backup. But I think probably by week 4, week 5, you'll start seeing Justin Fields take over.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want to give your rookie shell shock with the first week. So hopefully it works out for him and he can pick up a couple of things. So great takes, everyone. I know everyone, especially Mike, is very excited for the start of the NFL season. We're going to take a quick break. And on the other side, we're going to discuss some MLB news along with, of course, our question of the week. We'll be right back.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Hey, sports fans, and welcome back to EBC Sports International. So before we get into some MLB news, I actually do want to get the panel's predictions of what the outcome of the first game of the NFL season will be, where we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the Dallas Cowboys. So I want to get your take, guys, of one, who will win, and give me a prediction of what the score will be. So Ben, let's start with you.
Well, the Buccaneers will be definitely out really dominating Dallas Cowboys. Of course, the Buccaneers will be amped to celebrate their Super Bowl 55 ring to start the season. And of course, Tom Brady returns to a powerhouse lineup, hasn't lost any key players from last season. So with the overhauled Cowboys defense, this will be an easy win for Cowboys. For the Buccaneers.
Okay, so Ben has the Bucs. What about you, EJ?
34-24.
34-24.
Okay.
I think that's a little too close, man. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think that the Dallas Cowboys got shut down in one of the preseason games. Like, got skunked. They didn't score anything. So and we were just talking about this a little bit off air, that Dak Prescott is I guess supposed to play for week 1, but we don't really know because it's been a long time since we've seen Dak on the field. So with that, it's going to be an easy win for Tom Brady and the Bucs. I think it's going to be like 37-6.
Ooh, oh, wow. Ooh, hot take, EJ. We'll come back to you next week to see if that's the case. And lastly, right, Mike, what about you?
It is going to be an obliteration. Dallas shouldn't even get off the bus. This is going to be an annihilation from kickoff to the zeros on the board. I have Tampa Bay. You know what? I'll do 42-14 Tampa Bay.
Wow. I almost want Dallas to win. I just want Dallas to win to prove you guys wrong. But anyway, so to finish off our roundtable this week, we're gonna break down the recent events that occurred within one of the MLB teams, the New York Mets. So several players from the organization took it upon themselves to reciprocate some frustrations that the fans have been showing them by doing a thumbs down gesture when they made timely hits. So of those players, Mets star and former Chicago Cubs shortstop Javier Baez has received a lot of backlash for their actions. So Baez and his teammate Francisco Lindor did eventually apologize to the fans earlier this week, stating that if they did offend anybody, they do apologize. That was not their intent. So EJ, I don't know if you've seen like literally the pictures of these guys thumbs down when they hit home plate. What do you think of this message that players are trying to send to the fans?
I think it's fine. Why? I mean, if they feel like they're being kind of disrespected on the mound or on the field for MLB, I mean, why can't the guys do that? Now, I mean, if this were a situation where fans were throwing stuff at them and this is what they're doing to retaliate, like, I feel like that's too little for them to do. I mean, we were talking about this a little bit earlier about Malice in the Palace, the documentary that just released, and like that was a crazy interaction between fans and players, right? Like, if it doesn't escalate to that, I think all things that you do on the field to kind of jaw back at each other is part of sports. You know what I'm saying? I think this is totally fine. And I think very very family friendly way in kind of jawing back and forth to fans. I mean, thumbs down, come on. I mean, even little kids could do that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I get where they're coming from. It's not the greatest to hear your fans boo you. So, Mike, as a passionate sports fan yourself, of course, what do you think of the fans voicing their opinion? And I'm using that term very lightly towards your teams. And are they within their rights? Like, as fans, can we boo? Can we show our frustration?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and the biggest reason is because, I mean, a lot of these athletes get paid millions of dollars to basically do a job. And if they're not performing, then, I mean, we have the right to show our criticism to them. As far as, I mean, I guess one thing I remember is, during the Seahawks season, it was like 2 seasons ago, we could not move the ball at all, like 3 straight drives. And the fans started just booing them like crazy. But that didn't rattle them. I mean, they still won the game. But, I think in my opinion, I think it's a little bit insecurity on the Mets part, if we're just talking about the baseball team, because it's kind of like, dude, you're really letting these fans get in your head when you guys should be focused on getting a W or trying to make the playoffs or whatnot. Yeah. It's funny, like seeing the pictures, but for me, it's kind of like, come on, any true team or any true tough-minded team would even let anything like that. I mean, if they're not going to let visiting fans get to them, I mean, how much more your home fans? So.
Exactly. So then on the other side of that, then Ben, let me ask you, we were talking about Malice in the Palace earlier off air, but is it then within the players' rights to retaliate? Like, we saw this simple, like, thumbs down, basically saying we don't agree with our fans. But then, of course, on the other side, Malice in the Palace, where they physically then retaliated. What do you think about that when you see it from the players, Ben?
Well, first of all, that documentary is really a great documentary. We saw a different perspective of what really happened. For me, it's really unfortunate that happened. Now, if, like what EJ said, if the fans get involved with the players and the players retaliate, it's going to be a big problem. Now, I think also the fans have the right to express their frustration with the players. And also the players can also express their emotions towards the fans. But for me, if you are a professional player, you have to set a good example. You have to be a professional. You are a professional sports athlete. Now, with all these things, you don't have to really display or retaliation for the fans. But if your life is threatened, and like what we saw in the documentary, I think the players have the right to really defend themselves, and we can discuss that in our next episode, next show next week, and really talk about what really happened in that. But for me, I think if there's no retaliation from the athletes and the fans, we will not have a problem. But of course, this is part of the sport. Fans getting frustrated with their team. Of course, you really want them to win. But for players, if you're really a fan, also if they are losing, you have to show support for them. And also for the players, they have to be professional enough to be a good example for all of the fans.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you know what? Baez came out and said, I know I'm not doing well. I know I'm sucking right now. So I feel the frustration that the fans feel, but hopefully the team and their fans can mend the relationship, because if not, it's going to be a very long season ahead for these guys. So moving on, of course, it wouldn't be a complete show without our question of the week. So this, just a couple weeks ago, the Phoenix Suns announced their concept for a possible alternate jersey, paying homage to their ancestors of the Valley. With the announcement, of course, came with mixed emotions. So staying with that theme, what has been your least favorite jersey concept of a professional team? So I'll start off. Mike, we might not be friends after this, but I definitely have a love-hate relationship with that action green uniform of the Seahawks. Like, it's distracting.
We haven't lost a single game. We're undefeated with those jerseys on.
Yeah, because the team is literally distracted and they're like discombobulated looking at the lime green.
How dare you?
Mike, what about you? What about what's your least favorite concept?
Oh,
look at that!
man.
Look at that green!
Oh man, I love, dude. That's my favorite color.
Like glow in the dark.
Yeah, literally. Let's turn off all the lights. So no wonder they're winning.
So for me, I'd have to say the Milwaukee Bucks Cream City jerseys, absolutely horrendous. The worst jersey of any sport I've ever seen. It's just, I don't get what Cream City means. Is that the nickname for Milwaukee? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know what that means. It reminds me of ice cream. It reminds me of ice cream every time I see it. So horrible.
No, I actually like that. I just don't like the fact that it says Cream City on the front.
Yeah.
So yeah. Ben, what about you?
Well, the 2003 Dallas Mavericks uniform. While the material and color of the jersey look pretty good on the rack and not bad on the players' pregame, but once the game action sweat and arena lighting pair together, you'll see it's like a silver gray morph to resemble a wet trash bag.
Oh. That's the perfect way to put it.
I like that.
It's like heavy. Is it sweat wicking? Like, isn't it heavy to play in that? But I think we saved the best for last, EJ.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I Googled this, man. This was horrible. The Pittsburgh Steelers in 2012 paid a tribute to the 1933 Pittsburgh Pirates uniform. I'm dubbing these the Bumblebee uniform. If they show it on the screen, you guys got to see it. It's so ugly. I mean, they look like prisoners in those uniforms.
Yeah, they do.
There you go.
There you go.
It's horrible.
They just got off the bus.
And it's not even like a nice retro take. It's just bad.
Oh, no.
It's just really bad. But anyways, well,
the only missing is their wings.
Right. Bumblebee wings.
Yeah, no, for sure. Good. Those were great picks for the ugliest jerseys, guys. So thank you so much for joining me on behalf of everyone on the panel. Be sure to tune in next week again for another episode. Make sure to visit our website at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at EagleNewsPH to join the conversation. For EBC Sports International, I'm Zarita Sese. We live in interesting times.
Opo.